Hey guys, welcome to Video Game Corner, and let's talk about Batman versus Superman. I'm going to go ahead and do spoilers. I figure a lot of people have seen it already. If you haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers, just come back after you've seen it. So, because I'm just not good at the whole... I'm not real good at being able to review it without spoiling certain things. I'll try to keep it to a minimum if I can, but I can't make any promises. So, I went and saw this about a week ago. I went and saw it I saw it on Friday, so it was actually half a week ago. Went with the family. I'm a big Batman fan. Grew up, I've owned 2 comic book stores. I got a tattoo on my leg of Batman, so it's important to me. It's a big deal. I grew up reading the comics until I was in my 30s actually, and Batman is just, it's important to me, and I want it. And every time Batman anything comes out, I want it done right. Same thing goes for anything comic book related. And I'm curious how they're going to do Aquaman, because I've always been an Aquaman fan, and And I thought, like, the original Michael Keaton stuff was good, but they didn't do Batman right back then. I mean, they kind of did in the first film, but then in the second film he's throwing... Batman's big thing is he doesn't kill. That is such a big... It is groundbreakingly big. It's just like, explosions... He doesn't throw dynamite down people's pants, okay? It doesn't matter how ridiculous these clown guys are. So, because of that, I didn't like this. I like the movies. I like the old Keaton Batmans. I think Keaton did a really good job as Batman. He's still my favorite Batman out of all of them. He and Adam West. And I like Adam West more for nostalgia, not because he was a great Batman. Plus, he and I have the same birthday, September 19th. As far as Superman's, Christopher Reeve is still my favorite Superman. I liked Man of Steel, but I didn't love Man of Steel. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was the best film in the world. I actually fell asleep during a few minutes of it because it was just before I had my first heart attack. So I was tired all the time. So it wasn't good for me. I wasn't taking care of myself back then. So... and I liked the movie. I just didn't love it. I didn't love that movie. And Batman vs. Superman, I liked it, but I didn't love it. And here's the other thing: I love the Christian Bale Batmans, and I love how they focused on not killing. I thought that was a big deal. Of course, everybody makes fun of the raspy Bale voice. He's like, I'm Batman, and it's funny, and it's like, whatever, there's little things. I didn't like the way the bat mask, it kind of wrapped around right here. In the older stuff, it always went back a little bit, so you can see his chin. This one just kind of, gripped it a little too much. It was a little too, covered too much of it. It just didn't look right, I guess. But I liked it. I liked it all right. I liked the Christian Bale Batmans. I think they were done right. And I think it's the first time Batman's really been done right. Second time. The first time was Adam West. They did it right for the time. Because back then Batman was a little more campier in the comics. So it was done right for the time. But even if you watch the old serials of Batman, they were pretty good. It was funny because I have both of the old serials. And for those of you young guys who are really young, who don't know what a serial is, it's S-E-R-I-A-L. A serial is what they used to play, because before they had television, people go to the movies, and they'd have these weekly episodes, and it was serialized, serials. And they did all the different superheroes. They had Superman 1, they had Shazam, they had, which is actually called Captain Marvel, they had Batman, they had 2 different Batman ones, I think one in 1941 and 43 or 44. I have them both on DVD. and you can find them at, out on DVD for like $10 for the whole, season, or whatever you want to call it. It's like the whole show. It wasn't like in seasons. They did like one season and that was it. And yeah, I think it was 1941 and 43, I think. And they both weren't bad. They had Robin in them. And Batman is like, when he's Bruce Wayne, he's like smoking a cigarette. It's really funny because you never see Batman smoking. Of course, I did see this old 70s Superman cover where Superman's in there talking to Lois Lane on the cover, and Lois Lane is smoking, of course, because back then everybody did. But yeah, it's funny because Bruce Wayne's smoking, and he doesn't have a Batmobile. He and Robin, they like change in the back seat of the car. It's really corny. And of course, all the bad guys are these white guys pretending to be Asian guys because Japan was the enemy during World War II, along with the Germans. But yeah, and of course they were the stereotype. It was really bad, but it's really entertaining. And of course, every episode they get blown up or killed or something, and you're like, there's no way they can live. And then of course the next episode they're alive, and that's what they did back then to get people to come back to the theater, because back then movies were a dime, and for a dime you got a newsreel. So that's how people also got some of their news. They would get it from the newspaper, but they'd also get it from the newsreel. They would get previews for upcoming movies. They'd get a A film and a B film, so you'd always have a double feature. You get a cartoon, you get a cereal, and it was all 10 cents. And a whole different time period for the United States. I don't like to say America because we're the United States. The name of our country is United States, not America. Even though we kind of claimed it. Because it's funny, this whole side of the world is the Americas. But I just never liked that whole, let's just call it America and claim it like it's ours. I don't know. Call me weird. I don't care. So I go into this film, and I wasn't sure what to expect, because at first I didn't like the fact of Ben Affleck playing Batman. He already played Superman he played George Reeves, who played Superman in the 50s for the kids show, which is funny in Hollywoodland. So he kind of already played Superman in a way, even though he really didn't. And then he played Batman. It's funny because the woman who played Superman's mother, Diane Lane, played George Reeves' girlfriend in Hollywoodland. So it's kind of interesting little tie-in there. So, I thought Alfred was done well. I like that Alfred in the comics is just a butler and he helps Batman. But I like that in these newer versions about, I love Gotham. I think Gotham does Batman right. But it's a TV show, so they have more time to work with it. And Batman's like 12, 13-year-old. He's like a 12-year-old kid still. And they're changing a little bit, around, and they're kind of showing how these villains become, like Edward Nygma, the Riddler. He works at the police station, and you could see him kind of go crazy. The Penguin, the guy who plays the Penguin is freaking awesome. He's like a young guy. He's like, 25, 30. He's like 30 years old, and he's really young, and he's just kind of finding his way. And the guy who plays his dad is Paul Rubens, who was Pee Wee Herman. Now, Paul Rubens in Batman Returns with Danny DeVito also played Penguin's father. So there's another little cool tie-in. And they recently had Paul Rubens. They brought him on the show, and he plays Penguin's dad, because Penguin in the show, he's kind of a mama's boy. Really done well. Really, the show is so good. They recently introduced Victor Fries. They introduced the Joker, and this guy was so good. Best Joker I've ever seen. He put Heath Ledger to shame. And then he dies, and it turns out he wasn't the real Joker, because everyone knew his name and everything, and the whole thing about the Joker is we don't know who he is. And then you see all these different people watching his death and start laughing like the Joker. So the real Joker hasn't surfaced yet. But it was all because this guy kind of got them to start acting, thinking, oh, that's really funny. And I thought it was a really cool ending to his little story arc. But he was like really good, and I wanted him to be the Joker because he was good. He was so good. Anyway, I'm getting away from the movie because I love Gotham so much. I think Gotham is so good. And Donald Logue plays Harvey Bullock, he's perfect for Harvey Bullock. Because Donald Logue, he always plays that anti-good guy type of character and stuff. Sometimes bad guy becomes a bad guy, because he played in Vikings. He also played in Sons of Anarchy. Really good actor. I love Donald Logue. He used to be that guy on MTV who would smoke a cigarette and bitch and sit there and go, yeah, when this guy, he was like a cab driver. Not Dennis Leary, who used to complain. Don't get him confused. Donald Logue was like a cab driver sitting there talking about stuff. He was like sweaty, had the comb over, and he would sit there and the cab would be full of smoke, and he'd just sit there and talk. And I think it was on MTV. That was a long time ago, but yeah, that's who Donald Logue is. But he's a really good actor, and he's done like sitcoms and movies and stuff. So I'm sitting there, and I'm watching this, and I think I wasn't sure about Ben Affleck at first. I kind of was one of those is like, yeah, right, type of guys. But then I went and watched some of his newer films, and he's really come up as an actor. I mean, we all used to hate Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's one of the best actors running around right now. Back in the 70s, John Travolta was a joke. Now he's like one of those actors that, you like to see. At least he was, when he was in his prime. Now he's winding down. He's an older guy. But, yeah, my dad, he hated John Travolta in the 70s. He'd be like, that guy was a puke. Hate that guy. Now my dad's like, I like John Travolta. So he's one of those actors that got better as he got older. Same thing, Leonardo DiCaprio. I hated Leonardo DiCaprio when he was in his pretty boy, boy band look type of phase. He was doing all these crappy just boy movies, kiddie type, movies for the young girls. But then when he did Gangs of New York, I've been a fan ever since. Of course, I'm a big Daniel Day-Lewis fan. So Ben Affleck, same kind of thing. He used to be this, good-looking guy that did, these really strange films. He did like Mallrats and stuff, and I didn't mind him in Mallrats. He was an asshole in Mallrats, but I just never liked his films very much. And I hated him in Daredevil. New Daredevil show's really good, by the way. John Bernthal, perfect Punisher. Anyway, so he was really good as an older Bruce Wayne, and I liked that he was older. What I don't like is I remember I was watching Boogie yesterday, Boogie 2988, and he was talking about Bruce Wayne's origin. His parents dying, him falling down the well. He's like, we've seen it all before, and that's the fact. We have seen it. We've seen it in the comics multiple times. We've seen it in the movies. It was done in Gotham, even though it's done a little bit different in Gotham. But we're sick and tired of seeing it. We're sick of his origin. I'm sick of origin stories for everybody. Everybody knows Bruce Wayne's parents were killed. Everybody knows that Bruce Wayne flew here on a spaceship as a baby and went to Smallville and was raised by the Kents. Everybody knows Spider-Man was bitten by a spider on his hand. Come on. We're so sick of these origin stories. We don't need them anymore. Just make a solid movie. If you want to do an origin story, like when they do the whole movie as an origin story, I can't stand it. Even though Batman Begins was done really well because they rushed through his origin, but then they made him as a young man, training, which that's not been done, so they did do well with that. But yeah, I get sick of the Spider-Man especially because they always have to do a whole origin movie, and it's like, I don't want to see that shit anymore. Just take it away. Of course, I've always said a good Spider-Man movie scene would be this. And it would be a good opening scene where it's like you see it comes down on New York, and you see these cars flying left and right, okay? Then you see Spider-Man flying, swinging down, and you see these cars just going up like crazy. And at the very bottom is the rampaging Rhino, right? And he's just busting through, taking, fighting. And then when Spider-Man gets down there, he takes him out. And I think that would be just the best beginning to a Spider-Man film. Of course, they make the Rhino a robot or some crap. I hated that. Rhino is this big, burly, mutated mutant type of guy. He's not a robot. But if they would have done that, it would have been so cool if they would have done that. But I've always wanted. That's always been my dream scene in a Spider-Man movie, and I'm a big Killer Croc fan in Batman, and they never do Killer Croc, and he's gonna be in Suicide Squad, so I'm all excited. Anyway, I'm straying again. Get used to it. I'm just gonna stray. So we got Bruce Wayne's origin. Yeah, they did it real quick, but it's like, come on, do something different. And then they didn't really. They kind of the relationship between Alfred and Bruce is important. Yeah, it had them talk, and we already know their basic relationship, that they work together. But he and Alfred didn't have any kind of. It didn't matter whether they were there or not. It just, Bruce Wayne had no development. He didn't have a moment. I wasn't even sure why he was so. I know that he was pissed at Superman because people were getting hurt and he had to shut him down, but where were the scenes where he's just sitting there and maybe he's having a moment of, maybe he's having a moment, well, should I do this? Maybe I shouldn't do this. No, he's on a mission. And that is a Batman characteristic. That is a Batman trait. But, we don't always, there is that time when sometimes Batman does say, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe Batman does think. That's why Robin was great and Nightwing, because they could say, hey, Bruce, maybe we shouldn't. And we don't have any of those guys in there, but Alfred even can say, maybe we shouldn't. And there was nothing holding him back, and he just was able to do what he wanted. I thought Lois Lane was not needed. Doomsday looked cool. Wonder Woman was awesome. Wonder Woman looked really good. And I know people were saying, oh, she's too skinny. I think she looked great as Wonder Woman. She was perfect. They didn't do much with Wonder Woman, but that's okay because I know they're leading up to a film. So we didn't get much about Wonder Woman at all, and that I didn't mind. She was there. It was good. She had her truth lasso, and she had it around Doomsday, and she's pulling on him while the other guys are, while you got Superman fighting him and Batman fighting him, and it was pretty crazy. I do love I was kind of hoping for Dark Knight Returns, and we ended up getting Death of Superman storylines. I would love to see Dark Knight Returns, a real Dark Knight. We kind of got it in the third Christian Bale film, but I want a real Dark Knight Returns. It was more like Nightfall in the third Batman film, Dark Knight Rises, I think it's called, or maybe I got that wrong. I can't remember. The third one with Bane, and because Bane is Bane was the one that broke Batman's back, and he, what they did, but they also did that whole Dark Knight Returns type of thing where Batman's a little older and he's all beat up and he hasn't been Batman for a while. See him there, but he's in his 50s in Dark Knight Returns, and when he comes back, Superman's like, Bruce, you can't do this. Your type of justice just isn't accepted anymore. And then at the end of Dark Knight Returns in the books, Batman has Green Arrow shoot Superman with a kryptonite arrow, and Batman proceeds to beat the shit out of Superman, which we kind of got in the film, but still. And Batman beats him so bad, and there's this one panel, there's this one splash page where it's got Superman with his head back and Batman's boot is up under his chin. Batman's got the armor on, and the armor in this movie looked like the armor it was similar to the armor from Dark Knight Returns. And Batman just beats the shit out of Superman, beats him so bad. And you see Superman's tooth fly out, I think, and he's bleeding. And then Batman ends up dropping dead from like a heart attack. Turns out Batman's faking in the comics, and it's funny because Superman's at his gravesite, and Superman hears his heart start up, and he smiles because he knows that Batman faked his own death. So, if they just did a Dark Knight Returns film and just stayed true, it would be so good. But, you know, I'm always talking to Cody. He does the podcast with me. He's been on the show. He and I are always fantasizing about the comic movies we want to see, and just really good stuff they could be doing. And I think, and everyone's always like, well, you know, the comic fans are one thing, but when you make a movie, you got to make it for everybody. And I think everybody would like this stuff, even if they don't really understand the source material. I think it's just good writing. And I think we need to bring it into this. And I think if theaters would take more chances and just stay true to the source material on certain stories, I think it would come out really good. But, I don't know. They never listen to me. So, anyway, the film was good. It wasn't great. It could have been better, but it did leave itself open for more to come. And my problem was I didn't feel emotionally connected to anybody. I didn't feel like it mattered as much as it should have. And my wife is a big Wonder Woman fan. She's got a Wonder Woman tattoo, and she collects Wonder Woman stuff, and she loves Wonder Woman. So when when Wonder Woman showed up, she got all excited. So yeah, Desiree loves Wonder Woman, and you know, that was good for her. But it's like, you know, I just want to see. I like that they're opening it up for the dark side stuff. Like they opened up they had dark side's, you know, his Omega symbol, and you know, I think there's potential for like the stuff. And then they showed like Aquaman and the Flash and everything. They showed like video of them, like surveillance footage. That was their cameos. So we'll see what happens. I think it can be really good if they just kind of do more character development and, you know, be a little more clear onto the reasoning to why people are doing what they're doing in the films. Like, I don't know why Wonder Woman was really doing what she was doing in the film. I knew why Batman was doing it, but I would have liked some more human moments where he was kind of like, you know, talking about it to Alfred or somebody, or maybe, you know, stopping. I mean, they were trying. It seems like they were trying a little too hard, and they didn't quite hit that nail on the head, but they were close. So anyway, I'll shut up now. I will talk to you guys later. Jason, Video Game Corner, all that good stuff. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.